Hello, everyone. You're here because you have the same question as me. Instagram, Snapchat, or both. So I am Phil. I'm a brand strategist based in Los Angeles. I spend a lot of my time outside of the city in places like Dubai for the first time. But in my job, I'm helping people position, build, and promote their brands. TV personalities, I've worked on Shark Tank, I've worked with politicians. It doesn't matter how fancy someone is. When they come to me, they say, Phil, I want to promote my brand, and I don't want to spend any money. So we go to social media. Now, today, I'm so excited about this because I get to pick the brain of two really intelligent influencers. One sides a little bit more with Instagram. The other sides a little bit more with Snapchat. And I'm confused sitting in between both of them, probably like you. So today, I will grill them. Just kidding, I won't grill them. But we'll have a great discussion on whether we need one, the other, depending on our brands and our businesses, or if we need both, and how we go about doing that. Sound good? Time to meet the panelists. Let's do this. I want to introduce Virginia Salas Kastilio, a marketing strategist, speaker, and digital storyteller. That's a long title. I call her the queen of Snapchat. Virginia, come on out. And then we have Tala Samman, a lifestyle blogger and a DJ. Look her up on Instagram, over 100,000 followers. She's a DJ also. How cool is that? Tala, come on out. Come join the party. So, here we are, the battle between the two. Or maybe it's not a battle. We're about to discover that. I want to know, maybe we'll start with Virginia, who's already Snapchatting. I'd love to know from both of you, even very quickly, the role that these platforms play within your current businesses and brands.
Yeah, of course. So I run, wait, this is a little bit, okay, there we go. So I run a digital marketing agency, Jeannie Can Breathe, and we specialize in Snapchat. So I would say the role is incredibly central. What we do is we help businesses launch and grow their Snapchats, work with influencers. And yeah, so basically the whole model, I mean, obviously we do Facebook, Instagram as well, and I think Instagram is incredibly important, especially the stories function. But yeah, it's centered around Snapchat.
Great.
I've been running my blog for 9 years now, the first blog to come out of the UAE. And yeah, I've been on Instagram since it launched, and Snapchat the same. In terms of projects and how we work with brands a lot more on Instagram. Obviously, we kind of throw in a bit of Snapchat in, but yeah, the blog's kind of the base.
Great. I love the difference that both of you bring to this conversation, but you both use both platforms, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm the same. And maybe I'm looking to both of you for a little bit of a therapy session, but here's what's happened. Snapchat came out. I was so excited about Snapchat, all the filters. I loved how easy it was. It felt like for the first time, I could create video content without overthinking it. Right, on YouTube, you set up your camera and everything has to look pretty, and then you just end up not doing it, like me. But with Snapchat, it was like, boom, I can do this really quick. Then Instagram created stories. And I thought, well, they're just ripping off Snapchat. But now, I have not Snapchatted. I'm so embarrassed to admit this in front of you. But I haven't Snapchatted in like weeks because every day I'm creating a story on Instagram, which is where my audience is. What is your advice for someone like me who is straddling between both and there's only so many hours in the day?
Should I take this? I mean, for me, Snapchat is what I use with friends as well, and that's how I keep in touch with a lot of friends. I do agree, Instagram story does kind of, I mean, initially I didn't want to kind of use it as much, but when I work with brands, that's what they want to work on, because you can tag the brand, people can kind of, you know, you can link it up, they can go on their pages, and I tend to use both. I try to keep the content different, because you do have people that go on both platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, the battle is not, you know, Snapchat or Instagram, but the question is, where am I using which platform in which situation? You know, kind of like she's saying with her friends. So what, I mean, if you guys all open, who here has Snapchat downloaded on their phone? Okay, so if you guys open Snapchat right now, take a photo, and you use the filter, you'll see that I just created a geo filter for this event for my company, right? So geolocated marketing through filters is one of the most powerful things that I've ever seen in my entire life in marketing. Like, it is truly the future. Like, we were able to get, you know, from an ROI standpoint, on a $6 geo filter at New York Fashion Week, we got 11 million impressions for one of our clients that, you know, started up 2 weeks ago, you know? So getting 11 million impressions for $6 is like one of the best ROIs I've ever heard. And the situation is with the geo filter, like, who here, did you guys try the geo filter? Did someone try that out? Okay, some of you did. Thanks for everyone listening to me. Is what you're doing is you're actually taking a photo, you know, of my brand, and you're sharing this with your friends. I mean, when was the last time that you can imagine you know, you saw a bus passing by you, or you saw a billboard at a bus stop, and you took a photo and you sent it to your friends? Like, that's just not a reality. So already that is just a factor that's amazing. When Instagram starts, you know, letting companies create geo filters, you know, that's another advantage. But we have to look at what is happening right now in tech and what's happening in the market, and how can I leverage each of those functions to maximize my business.
Yeah, and I love that you're already giving an example of how to use this technology in a really creative way. I want to get to that, and I'm going to ask you about examples with your own brands and possibly some of your clients, so that we can actually learn from, you know, things that companies have done that have worked, and we can adapt those for our own strategies. But first, you touched on, Virginia, you touched on something really, I think, important, which is prioritizing your platform. So I'd love to know both of your opinions on this. It's something I say, I feel like I say it daily. Rather than being average on 10 different platforms or being active for the sake of posting on social media, I often tell people to prioritize their top 3. I'd rather you be a rock star on 3 platforms than average on 10. What is your opinion in that sense of prioritizing platforms? How do you go about choosing those?
The way I, as an individual or as a business, would prioritize platforms is, first of all, Facebook, then Instagram, then Snapchat, and then Twitter. That's where I think, you know, your marketing dollars, your attention should be going, right? Snapchat is an art of a platform, right? So if you want to start marketing on Snapchat, getting an ROI, you really have to know what you're doing in all the other platforms to play there and to see how you can benefit from working with influencers, geofilters, et cetera, right? So it might not be, you know, possible for every business because they're just busy trying to keep the lights on. So in terms of what I would prioritize, that's the order.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, with how I kind of prioritize my platforms is obviously how does the social media channel translate into traffic on the site, which is how we pretty much make money and sell projects with brands. For me, Instagram is probably the largest like, that's what I mean, now a lot of brands are spending their money on Instagram rather than sponsored features on the site. Snapchat is something that I feel like is quite early for, I hate the word influencer, but just, you know, just kind of working with brands. Snapchat isn't something that we kind of get quite a bit. We'll throw it into a package. Instagram stories, something that a lot of them are kind of getting their hands on. And I personally just like Instagram because it's there, it's easy, it's curated, it stays there. People don't have to see it that day. They can constantly just come back to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm interested in that. So you're saying that you're getting more ROI with influencer campaigns out of Instagram stories than Snapchat stories. Can you give me some statistics? Like, you know, an influencer with X amount of views, promoted X products, got this many like download sales or whatever, or ads. Instagram versus Snapchat.
It's mostly just brands wanting to spend on that over Snapchat.
It's interesting. I get to sit in the middle of these discussions, chatting with influencers like you that have built an audience and a platform, and then also talking in LA, working a lot in entertainment. So I talk with casting directors, agents, managers, and I'm like, what are you hiring? Who's booking the jobs? Who's getting on TV, or who's launching a book successfully? What platforms are selling the talent? And a lot of what I'm hearing actually from both of you is reaffirming what I hear in the industry. It's constantly evolving, but I think the point is you build your platform, you build your audience, and when you sell your talent combined with an audience, it makes it that much more of a sweetened deal. Both of you have really strong audiences. Well, that didn't just happen overnight, did it? So I want to know, I know obviously working with celebrities and high profile people, I always find it fun to work with that scale and those numbers to be able to do projects. But I'm curious, can both of you kind of shed some light on the growth strategies that you've used that have worked, that you can share, knowing that this audience here wants some takeaways to actually implement for their brands and their clients?
Yeah, so I'm a huge growth hacker. When I started my Snapchat, I used a number of different techniques for this. So I've been on YouTube for 10 years. I've been creating content. I've been vlogging back since 2007. And nothing ever happened with that. Like, I have 2,500 subscribers on YouTube. Like, nobody cares. Because obviously, I mean, like, I was 16 years old. I had no idea how to market my YouTube channel and what to do. 2 years ago, when I took to Snapchat and I really started understanding marketing and digital media and growth hacking, so I was like, okay, like, let us actually, because I used to work as an account manager for Apple and Oracle for 5 years. So I was like, let me take myself as my own guinea pig as a brand and do for myself what I do for my clients, right? So with no following on any other social media platform, so no Facebook, no Instagram, no nothing, I was like, how do I create something out of this 0 follower Snapchat account? So I went on sites like Reddit, which is like the front page of the internet, where things go viral, and I started analyzing the platform and seeing how I could position myself and create viral content that people would add me. Then I started making viral videos on Facebook that were super shareable, that had my username in them. I bought Tinder Premium. This is being like totally honest with you guys. I got Tinder Premium and I had my QR code in it, and I would travel to a different city every single day to get maximum exposure on my brand, because that's what you do if you're an individual. And so, just different things like this. I would comment on articles. I would Google who to follow on Snapchat, and then I would comment on those articles and say, hey, follow Jeannie Can Breathe. She lives in the south of Spain on an avocado farm with her 2 pygmy goats, Sam and Frodo. So like learning, like, how do I write copy? How do I engage people? And just really like one-on-one. And so then
Not
my
like
Snapchat
sitting there
growing.
waiting for them to come. You're actually actively hustling,
Yeah,
it sounds like.
And then, of course, like, I got the attention of other big creators, got shout-outs, did collaborations, and then that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you admit the things that didn't work, too, because we can all relate to those. That's being real, which is nice. How about for probably Instagram, I think is probably your biggest audience, would
Yeah,
you say?
but when I first started, I think with me, my story's, I guess, very different, because I always started it. I never kind of had a plan. I was doing it while I was at university, graduated, joined a Condé Nast publication as a fashion editor, was still doing it on the side, and then realized I was making more money than I was making at a job, and left that and decided to run the site full time. It's been a very organic kind of growth, and I think that's, a lot of people always ask, what are your goals in the next year, 2 years? And I think something that I've kind of stuck to is just a loyal following. I feel like I've had girls that have grown up with me, and I've kind of built that community of girls that, trust recommendations and actually look forward to reading things and have that conversation online, even though I don't know a lot of those girls. And yeah, so I guess just as the content gets better, people, nowadays they can tag other friends, and it's been a consistent organic growth. I don't think I just woke up one day and my site was bigger than it was the day before.
Yeah, you both have hustled to grow your audience, and it's something that you really believe in. It's something you want. So it's not just something you're really into for a week and then you forget about it, right? It's consistency, it's passion for growing. It's also one other, I think, a secret ingredient that both of you clearly know the answer to. I have a podcast, and I think I have more episodes on growth for Snapchat and Instagram than on anything else. And I'm constantly asking influencers like you, what does it take to grow an audience? And the answer is always the same, and it's always what you don't expect, which is engage with your audience, post comments, reply to people who comment, show them that you care, because it's not just that one person you're replying to, it's everyone that sees that conversation out there. Both of you, I'm really impressed that you have such a clear purpose on how you use each platform, and I want to explore that. A lot of times, if I'm working with high-profile people, they feel like, well, I've got this piece of content, I've got this new blog post, I've got to spread it out on all my platforms quick at the same time. But instead, to your point, if you post the same thing on every platform all the time, why does anyone want to follow you on all of those? But I think each of you, in addition to prioritizing your platforms, both of you have given each one purpose. Can you talk even in a sentence or two about what purpose, your top 2 or 3 platforms serve for you? What structure you give yourself to be able to update it and to tell your audience what to expect?
Yeah, so Snapchat is really like the unfiltered view into my life. Really like behind the scenes, how I'm feeling about things. I mean, like I've cried on my Snapchat after a breakup. Like I really just talk about like what is happening in my life, because I believe that social media should be a lot more transparent and vulnerable. So Snapchat is just unfiltered Jeannie. Facebook for me is a lot more about business. Most of my business comes through connections on Facebook, so I'll bring a lot more kind of business value. Most of my people on Snapchat have no idea what I do. They just think I'm like traveling the world and like having fun all day. But Facebook is really, especially my personal account, that's like my business kind of output, where I write articles, give value, connect with people. And so, yeah, I would say that's the difference. And then obviously Instagram is more kind of like the highlights, the here and there. And what I also believe in is writing a long description, like actually, like not like here's a pretty photo, but here's why this photo is relevant to me.
Great.
To be honest, my answer is very close to Virginia's, but for me, Facebook's kind of, because at the end of the day, I do write articles, and my articles have changed from like little paragraphs to like actual full-fledged articles. So Facebook's something that I kind of use when things are posted, and just to kind of keep people updated on what's on the site. Instagram doesn't necessarily always link up to the site. It's usually things that I've tried out, maybe didn't make the site, or things that, travels, and yeah, more curated. And I guess with Snapchat, it's more of a raw and edited, behind the scenes kind of insight to things.
But I actually love that your answers are similar, because I think it's a big part of why you've both been successful on this platform. I struggled with Instagram for a really long time. I own a branding agency, so I felt immense pressure to have incredible visuals all the time when I am an awful photographer. It's just not something I'm good at. But I gave it purpose. I travel a lot, so why am I not documenting my travels on Instagram? Great question, Phil. So that's what I started doing. And now that I have that direction, I've developed a bit of a brand, my audience has started to grow. I'm noticing a shift in the work that I'm doing, not just with social media strategy and here's what to do and here's how to be creative, but helping people get over the fear of being on video. So on Instagram and on Snapchat, sure, there's photos, but there's video. Now there's live video. And so what is your advice, if you think back to when you first started, or advice you've given others, how do we get over the fear of being on camera? Instead of just not doing it and avoiding it, how do we just do it and just not stress over every little frame?
I'm the last person to ask. I hate video. You'll never find me talking on video and speaking to my, I just can't talk to a phone. Yeah.
For now. But do you not think that is probably something you're going to have to do in the next few years?
I've dabbled in videos. I guess you kind of find...
You're on video right now, by the way.
Yeah, I know. You kind of find your strength, and you kind of find what I prefer kind of visually communicating, and yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I think it's just really like doing it every single day. I mean, like I said, I've been on YouTube for 10 years, so I've been creating content, and I noticed myself getting better and better on camera. But something that I wanted to cut on really quick about the kind of Snapchat versus Instagram side, because I really want to like bring this home and make sure that you guys really understand the ROI of Snapchat, is that from a business perspective, across platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat is the highest follow of a call to action. It's the highest engaged audience that I've seen on any other platform. A guy in Brooklyn, he came all the way to Union Square because he saw I was snapping there to bring me 2 bagels. And this has happened to me over and over again. People getting on trains, buses, or something to come to where I am, right? And so, from an example of a campaign with a client, there was an there was an app. We use an influencer that has a following of 70,000 people on Snapchat, so 70,000 views on the video. Created a campaign, told his following to download the application. We got 8,000 downloads. So from 70,000 views on a video, 8,000 downloads. That's a conversion of like 11.5%. And from the cost, it cost the company 60 cents per download. And like, what is happening there, right? That is an engaged following. I think companies really need to understand the value of, the difference between a follower and a click and a like and a comment and a share, between an actual engaged user and an advocate and an ambassador for your brand. Because that is what is going to convert into long-term capital. And that's why I'm championing this application so much, because I have not seen that on any other platform. And even though it is more difficult to start, it's more difficult to market, and you need the other social media platforms in order to bring a following there, it just converts better than anything else.
To be honest, to add to that, even though brands always want to push Instagram story, I personally prefer Snapchat. I feel like I can see what's engaging my readers, and like beauty, for instance, you see what they love and the amount of screenshots, and I feel like in terms of the social media platforms, that's probably the fastest growing one for me per se, and so I agree with that. I guess brands just like the fact that you can tag them and they can link up to their page, and
it looks easier. But I mean, if you think about it, so one statistic that's important for you guys to remember when you walk away from here, 54% of people that follow you on Snapchat view your stories. That's huge. We have an influencer came to me over in LA, he has 1.4 million followers, and he's like, hey, I want you to make me into the next Justin Bieber, please sell me here and there. And I was like, okay, cool, like send me some of your analytics, how many views are your Instagram stories getting? And he's like, 6,000? If I have 1.4 million followers and 6,000 people are viewing your stories, I'm sorry, but you don't have influence. Like you don't have a loyal following. So it's really about thinking about, like, for companies, please think, what do those numbers mean? What do they equate to? And really think about the conversion instead of just something that looks good at first sight.
That's a great point. We only have a few minutes left, so I want to ask you one more question, which is, I often say content has become an unlimited resource on the internet. Just by creating content, it doesn't make you special. Content is an unlimited resource. The limited resource we're all chasing is time. How do you make people care about the content you're creating on whichever platform is your priority platform?
Yeah, so definitely, like, the whole thing, stand out. But like, ask yourself the question, what makes me stand out, right? As a brand, what are most brands not doing? They're not being transparent. They're not being personal. When I tell my clients, I'm like, well, show us behind the scenes. Tell us what you're afraid of. Tell us, like, when you had a bad month, like, what were you doing there? They're like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't show weakness. I can't show vulnerability. Like, as soon as you do that with your clients, like, obviously not in your products, if you're getting into a plane and you say, oh, well, we don't know if it works. I'm not talking about that. I'm just showing about, like, as a person, as everyone in your company, show more authenticity, right? Yeah. And obviously, in terms of content, there's so much that you can do now. There's so many applications and things that we have available to us to make it more interesting. But, like, really think from a different perspective.
Yeah. I think there's an art to that auditing process as well, right? Listening to the conversations you're having day to day and going, oh, this would be great for social media. Creating an inventory of those ideas. How about you?
I honestly just kind of write about things that excite me, but I feel like we live in such an oversaturated market, or we work in such an oversaturated market, and I always get little girls that will come up and ask me, what are your tips? How can I kind of grow and be big in a span of a few months? And I just think that a lot of girls are thinking too much about that, the fame, the money, whatnot. But at the end of the day, if your content isn't strong and you aren't kind of giving something different to what others are, you're never going to get there.
Yeah, that's great advice from both of you. We wouldn't be social media enthusiasts if we didn't have a call to action at the end of this. Our handles are up here. Actually, no, they're not. Let's tell them our handles really quick to follow you on social.
So mine is Jeannie Can Breathe, but like I said, if you guys check the filter, take a photo on Snapchat, swipe to the right, Jeannie Can Breathe, that's my company name. That's my handle on every single social media platform. So if you Google it, you'll find it.
Mine is pretty much my Fash Diary.
There you go. And mine is at Phil Palin. Thank you both for having this discussion, and thank you to everyone here for being a part of it. It's been a blast.